He is just working very hard to control all of these variables, and it makes it very difficult for him to be and or do anything else. His life revolves around being able to control outcomes and people. They really set him up to be delusional. They set him up to believe that he had more power, control, and influence than he really did as just one individual person. I mean, he lived rent-free in Sasuke's head for years. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lauren, and over here we discuss life topics by analyzing characters from popular TV and film. So today we are talking about Itachi Uchiha from the Naruto series, and our topic is delusion of control. So let's get started. I know some of you were probably triggered by the thumbnail calling Itachi a wannabe puppet master. How dare I? Don't I know who he is? I do. But as much as we love Itachi as a character, he's just one of those characters that everyone seems to love, whether you thought he was just so cool and mysterious or you just love the way they did his storyline. That doesn't mean that he was flawless, and it doesn't mean that we can't learn things from his mistakes, which is why I do these videos. Since we consume so much of this media, I know I do, I want us to also learn and take notes from these different characters. So we're not going to look at every character in a purely positive light, and today we are not looking at the positive good side of Itachi. We're kind of looking at the more negative side, seeing what we can glean from that. So we start off with Itachi. We only know him to be the older brother of Sasuke, who has done the unthinkable to his entire clan. We don't like him. He can't sit with us. And it isn't until much later that we learn the true reason for his actions. We learn that everything that he did was in an effort to protect the Hidden Leaf Village and Sasuke. None of it was based on any vindictive agenda. And all of that hatred and dislike that we started with turns to sorrow and admiration for who he is as a character and what he has done for the safety of the Leaf Village. While many of us have that switch, I want to take that a step further. We had that switch where we disliked him and then we understood him a little more. And now I want to go one step deeper into understanding him a little bit more and analyze some of those things that are not so positive about him. There are several things that Itachi does throughout the series that are at least questionable. So like I normally do, I want to give you guys 3 tips and tricks to deal with the topic at hand, in this case, the illusion of control. So, number 1 is to let people do their own work and come to their own conclusions. Unless you are a parent to a child, then it is not your job to mold and to raise someone into the person that you want them to or think that they should be. And this is something that Itachi clearly struggles with, from trying to control Sasuke and the choices that he makes. He did what he did in part to spare Sasuke's life, but instead of leaving it there, he tries to craft a narrative around everything so that one day Sasuke will seek him out and try to battle him, and he can do whatever he wants to do. So he's trying to get control over Sasuke. He attempted to control his clan and try to force them to see the error of their ways, which I think could be argued that they, Uchiha, had a reasonable plight, but he didn't believe so, of course, and he tried to get them onto the side of the leaf. He attempted to control the narrative that was out about him. He wanted to be seen as the fugitive that he was portrayed as, and he tried to keep that narrative going to the very end, even with his brother. He never even wanted Sasuke to find out what really happened. As reanimated Itachi, he tries to control Kabuto by putting him in the, ooh, I get these mixed up, Izanagi, by putting him under that in order to force him to repent and to look at his life and change his ways. He attempted to control his girlfriend by putting her in a Tsukuyomi where they lived out their days until they died, which sounds real cute and romantic on the surface, but again, questionable. He is just working very hard to control all of these variables, and it makes it very difficult for him to be and or do anything else. His life revolves around being able to control outcomes and people. I would say even the fact that he relies so heavily on genjutsu, the most kind of deceptive, illusion-based type of jutsu, says a lot about his character. And in doing all of these things, he doesn't allow for people to come to their own conclusions. And a lot of his plans fall through, of course, because of this. Namely, if you want to say his biggest failure is that which he has with Sasuke. He tries very hard to control Sasuke and very hard to influence Sasuke so that Sasuke will have the inclination to go back and protect the leaf. This backfires. Sasuke takes the complete opposite approach and decides he wants to destroy the hidden leaf for what they did to Itachi. So this backfires. You know that of course his clan rejects his way of thinking, which leads to the massacre, and he fails in controlling the narrative about him. Word eventually gets out about Itachi, and he is deemed a hero in a number of people's eyes, which was not his desire. So it's very important to realize that it is a part of human nature to want to make your own decisions and to feel like you're making your own decisions. Anytime that people feel, especially adults, that they're being controlled, they rebel even more. They might have actually been on the path to do whatever you wanted them to do, but once they find out that you were trying to make them do it, oh no, I'm going that way.
Left? Okay, I'm going right.
People do that all the time. So while you may have a point of view, a valid point of view, a point of view that is going to end up being the right choice, it doesn't mean that you can force and puppeteer anyone else into that point of view. They have to come to it on their own, or it won't work out. It will backfire on you, no matter how hard you try, because that's just people. But if they're able to come to a conclusion on their own, if they're able to do their own work and see things for what they really are without you having to tell them and make them, then they make a solid decision that they're sure about, and you don't have to worry. Number 2, recognize that in being a light worker or a person that is the sacrificial type, that you might not see the payoff and you might not even be that effective. You need to determine if that's what you're going to be, if this is okay with you. And if this is an issue, then the light working career may not be the right one for you. The truth is, Itachi died both times as a real person and as a reanimated person when he was sealed away. He died without seeing the fruits of a lot of his labor. Died without seeing Sasuke come to the conclusion that he wanted him to, which I'm sure was his biggest regret. He had to leave that in the hands of Naruto because he saw that he had a limited amount of time left and he wasn't going to be able to change Sasuke's mind. He wasn't able to see the outcome of Kabuto, who he put in the Iza, and whether he chose to change or not. He wasn't able to see the outcome of the war, if he was successful in thwarting the plans of Kabuto, Obito, and Madara. There were several things that just didn't happen the way he either wanted them to happen or just happen at all in his lifespan. And I think that can be a really discouraging and disappointing thing to people who are these light workers, who see things for what they are and try to help people, and they try to be the liaison between groups and the mediators, and they try to influence things in a good way and whisper over here and whisper over there and try to control so that everything works out. A lot of times you fail. And if you take on your position or your identity as a light worker too seriously, then you can really become depressed and dissatisfied with life in general because things aren't working out the way that you want. Now, I would argue that Itachi was built for this position because he was willing to let it all go, at least at the very end. Like I said earlier, he gave over the responsibility and that weight of Sasuke over to Naruto. He let it go. He put all that effort into halting the reanimation shenanigans that were going on, and he let it go. He let go of everything that he needed to at the right time, so that when he was sealed away, he was satisfied with what he had done. So if you're like that, then okay, I would say go forward with being that person. But if you're not a person who is able to come to terms with people going left when you have instructed them to go right, not okay with seeing that payoff right away or ever, then maybe it's not a good idea to get into people's business and to try to control the outcomes of life that are outside of you. That may not be a good position for you. Number 3 is to properly evaluate your power and your influence. Don't overdo it. Don't overestimate your influence on a person. With Itachi specifically, I think we can kind of understand why he thought he would be so successful at being this puppet master. I think this is probably because of how he was raised as a child. They said in the show that he was this very acute and aware young boy who understood things more than even some adults. He was very mature even from a young age. And in addition to just being this way naturally, so much responsibility was put onto Itachi. He was expected to be both mother and father to Sasuke, as his parents never seemed to be there in the picture. He was this strong figurehead for Sasuke in the paternal way, but it was also this nurturing, caring person for Sasuke in the maternal way. He was made to be the parents of Sasuke, and then he was made to be a leader of the Uchiha clan. He was very gifted in his shinobi abilities. Then they forced him into Anbu. Then they made him a double agent, reporting and spying on both groups, dividing him further, and both groups trying to turn him and mold him into the person that they wanted him to be, as the pawn that they wanted him to be. Looking at you, Danzo. Looking at you, Hiruzen. Then after all that, they asked him to do the unthinkable to his own clan. So it really set him up to be delusional. They set him up to believe that he had more power, control, and influence than he really did as just one individual person. They made him believe that he could be a mother and a father to a child when that's not true. He was just filling in for them. They led him to believe that he could make decisions for the entire clan. They led him to believe that he could make a decision as big as massacring his whole clan as a child. They led him to believe that he just had all of this control when he really didn't. He was just a pawn that they were controlling, they being the clan, they being leaders of the Leaf, they being they. They really diluted his judgment, which is why he was a bit delusional. And that's not to say he was a bad character or anything like that, but he was a bit delusional and skewed in his judgment when it came to how much power he had in influencing other people. The one person I might argue that he influenced the most or controlled the most was Sasuke. I mean, he lived rent-free in Sasuke's head for years. But even Sasuke turned and did the opposite of what he wanted him to do. So you have to properly evaluate where you stand when you're trying to gain control over something. Don't think you have more than you do. Just understand that for the most part in this life, people are gonna do what they want to do. And you can kind of influence that a little bit, but have a realistic view of that, and don't put yourself in a position and set yourself up to be disappointed by people. You know? Alright. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications if you want to be alerted to new videos, and answer this question in the comments below. Have you ever had a time when someone tried to force their ideas onto you? Let us know in the comments if you like, and I will see you guys in the next video.